Welcome to Heavy Chef. My name is Siyabonga Mbaba, the project director of Heavy Chef Khayelitsha. Today I'll be chatting to an entrepreneur or social entrepreneur from Khayelitsha, Wandisile Nqeketho. He's the co-founder of 18 Gangster Museum. I'm looking forward to chat to him about his journey and what he has achieved thus far. Wandisile, welcome to the show.
Ngosipra. Thank you. Thank you.
So can you tell us more? I just want to understand more about what you do and also about your background. Who is Wandisile Nqeketho?
Wandisile Nqeketho is a social entrepreneur.
Sure.
I think my purpose in life is to try and curb social ills.
Okay.
To bring upon a better community. For the people that languish in poverty or for people that are struggling. So throughout my journey in life, most of the businesses that I've started, they've been solely about trying to alleviate a particular social ill. Hence I'm doing this right now.
Okay.
I think that is Wandisile Nqeketho in a nutshell.
Okay, so before we talk about 18 Gangster Museum, you just mentioned now that you've started some businesses. What type of businesses before venturing to 18 Gangster Museum?
We used to do the after party for schools, right? And then I quickly realized that this is not a space that I want to be in.
Okay.
Even though it was generating a lot of revenue, but it was not a space that I wanted to be part of. And then I changed the business model into trying to develop events that are centered around uplifting young kids to increase their scores academically. Because I studied at the townships, right?
Okay.
At the township school, and academically we were always below the bar, in comparison with other schools.
Yeah.
So this was a tool to try and encourage young people in the townships to somewhat increase their scores. So the events were centered around that. They did not work well because the business model was not developed enough to such an extent that it was able to create a lot of revenue stream, or a profitable revenue stream. And then I pivoted,
Sure.
And then I went with the recycling. So I started, a recycling project. Purely because also, I felt like in the townships, it was too dirty.
Okay.
And then on top of that trash, would actually mean cash.
Okay, so you started from hosting after parties. From after parties, you ventured into recycling. From recycling, now you're into a museum in Khayelitsha.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Khayelitsha. So, in my view, I feel like there's no art galleries around the townships, specifically Khayelitsha. There's no art galleries, lack of theaters, museums. You're the only museum that I know around the township. What inspired that, and what is 18 Gangster Museum?
18 Gangster Museum is basically a medium that aims to alleviate gangsterism in gang-ridden communities, through educating people about the implications of joining gangs. Sure. And also, we chose the museum as a vehicle to drive that, that objective, because museums are spaces that houses things of antiquity.
Okay.
So when you look at the museum, you always see, or you always think about the past.
Yeah.
So for us, that signifies something, because gangsterism, it should be something of the past. Sure. It should not form part of our reality. Hence, it should be stored in the museum. So hence, we chose the museum as that tool. And museums are educational spaces. Yeah. So we strongly, believe in, in educating, people, but finding different methods, to educate the people. And what inspired that is I have a wonderful business partner, right?
Yeah.
Who is incredibly who's incredibly creative, and we were bouncing ideas, right? Me and him, and we came to a point where we a museum is something amazing. It's not a Khayelitsha. We don't have a museum at Khayelitsha. And this would be the first museum at Khayelitsha. Yeah. We always try to be innovative and always try to come up with solutions that haven't been done in certain spaces. So even with the museum, some of the projects that we have started with the museum, they haven't been done by anybody else. They were always being initiated by us. So we enjoyed being pioneers. We enjoyed being innovative. So we wanted the museum, but it also spoke to us because we see he loves tourism. He literally enjoys tourism. I think,
which balances the museum, tourism.
I've always loved research. I've always loved things that are related to the past.
Yeah.
And I'm like a person that continuously consumes knowledge. So we work well together. So he's the creative mind. I'm the guy who try and research. So we work really well together. So.
Okay.
And I talk a lot in front of people. He talks a lot as well. He's incredibly funny, but I'm the one who talks to people. He just enjoys making jokes behind my back. So, yeah, we're a cool team. We're a cool team.
And also, I understand that gangsterism is a big thing.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to Khayelitsha. There was a time there was Amavato and Amavura.
Yeah.
And the museum is focused on gangsterism and also working with ex-offenders. So what's the role of the ex-offenders and how are you guys making an impact in terms of changing them, also in terms of healing and stuff like that?
Well, gangsterism is big all over Cape Town, especially right now, but I think all over the country, to be honest with you. But certain times or in certain periods, a particular city, gets the limelight, and people talk more about it. And this is because how the spaces have been structured, because of the impacts of the past. So the environment creates these delinquent predispositions, within our communities. And, we need to find solutions, towards, dealing with such. And we've seen throughout the years gangsters, right?
Sure.
So our role is to try and have those who seek to change, because when we conducted research, we saw that there are many people who truly want to change, but there are not many opportunities for change. There is not an environment that is conducive to create a different disposition. Sure. Right, a positive outlook in life.
Okay.
So and then there's not much that is done in order to guide, mentor, and provide opportunities. So we came into that space. So we hire ex-offenders.
Okay.
Because once you come out of prison,
there's no opportunities.
Opportunities are minimum. So we provide them with those opportunities to work at the museum. Also, this serves as a reintegration process because. Once you become a gangster, you will always be a gangster in the eyes of the community, purely because you've harmed the society, right? And then people will always look at you, in a negative way. So what we do is they need to be reintegrated into society, and also if someone says they have changed, those are just utterances.
Okay.
Utterances, they need to equate actions. So people need to see you. And action speaks louder than words.
They must see that you have changed.
Yeah, they must see that you have changed. You are doing positive things, to help society, to heal society.
So I'm sure, when you started like a museum, you have to be bold, obviously, to just think of, I want to own a museum. So how did you manage to fund the project? And because I'm sure that's been like a struggle, maybe, I don't know. So can you tell me about the funding and sponsorship?
A big hustle went up, right? So, first of all, we wanted to start a museum and we were incredibly young. So when we go to investors and say, hey, we want to start a museum, first of all, look at us like, museum boys.
Actually, I remember at some point, you were pitching when you were still at Hub Space.
Yeah.
There was a lot of pitching. At the time, it was no museum.
Yeah, no museum.
But you were talking about this is.
I spoke as if the museum already existed, even though it wasn't there. So and people were always like, this young boy, a museum. Why? What's wrong with you? So that was like the first challenge, And also, I didn't study history.
Okay.
I just loved to learn. I didn't do anything that is related to museology.
Sure.
And Sia, my business partner, also didn't do anything.
Tourism,
He's into tourism, right? And it was a struggle. And also, like, museums basically are not a money-making organizations, right? And we wanted, at the time, we were seeking like 2.3 million rands to build a state-of-the-art museum.
And this plan, I want it to look like this, and big, see people coming in and out. Yeah.
And the name didn't help. Like, what's the name of the organization? 18 Gangster Museum.
Can you please tell us more about 18 Gangster Museum, and also what do you guys do at 18 Gangster Museum? What's happening at 18 Gangster Museum?
So basically, 18 Gangster Museum, like I told you, we have ex-offenders.
Yeah.
So the ex-offenders are curators of the space. It's built in a shipping container, but it has two parts, right? So we've cut the shipping container in half. One, it's more like an installation that depicts a life or a journey of a boy from the township. Okay. So the installation shows, how one gets into gangsterism and how that develops and what are the end results. And the other, part of the installation is more of what are the alternative choices that one can take. So it also is painted, into two different colors. There's a darker shade and a lighter shade, which signifies positivity and negativity. Okay. And
so the dark side is more about where you can end, and the white side, the positive side.
Yeah. So it's more like in an inherently African ritual, whenever a clan, a village, a tribe, is there's a dark cloud hovering over, that particular, society. An elderly person, goes emakhandini, African Tonyamene, and is like, mabutete bumnyama kuvele kukhanya, like darkness must go away and let light prevail. That's what it signifies, in an African context, where the darker shaded area, this is the darkness that we want, it to move away, and the lighter shaded area, this is the light that we seek or that we wish to prevail in our community. So that's what it signifies. And also we built a replica of a prison cell. This is where one gets to engage with the ex-offenders. They tell their story there. Okay. So we're literally focusing on...
So that one, it's more of a look of a prison, how it looks.
Yeah. Okay. It's exactly like a prison. When you're there, you feel like you're in prison. It smells... there's paintings, there's writings, there's graffiti. You feel like you're in prison.
Okay, lastly, what would you say to someone who has like a business idea or want to start something, but because of maybe their background or lack of or access to funding, they want to start something but they don't know where to start? What would you advise that person?
I think one thing, they should understand that their predicament is not, exclusive to them. Yeah. All the entrepreneurs started like that. Sure. We've been struggling for many years, me and Lucia, right? There was a time where we couldn't have a R7.50 to get a train to town.
to go and pitch.
No. I had a meeting with this amazing entrepreneur, he gave us an opportunity. He runs a big business, and we needed assistance. And I didn't have a train, so I went, around the train station. You know how we do these things in Auckland, right? So
I can relate to that.
Right. So and then I got myself into a train. There was a carriage where people who smoke dacha always stay.
We call it Ebakonzini,
right? I chilled by Ebakonzini, and when it rained, got to Enyanga, it got stuck. I was literally an hour and a half early because I was thinking, I know it rains, they will always be late, so let me be very early.
Be on time,
but the trains got stuck in Enyanga too, and it literally didn't move. I didn't have airtime. I don't have money to go and take a taxi. Yeah. And, to cut the story short, I didn't make it to the meeting. And these are things that entrepreneurs are faced with. There was a time where I was working, and he had to support me, and he was not earning much, but he had to support because we had to support the dream. So when entrepreneurs want to start, I definitely think they should start, but they should be very smart. You don't want to go to the same journey as I did, but you need to be smart about it. Lack of funding does not mean one cannot initiate a business. You know, you need to start small if you can and start building momentum. You know, you use what you have. There's a guy called Ulfef. He started with 20 rand. I mean, with 40 rands.
Ulfef, the
spinach king, right? There's Usizwe. You know, he started with one bicycle. Right, and he started collecting medication, and he literally started with the 10 rands, right? And there are many entrepreneurs who started like that. There are many entrepreneurs who started like that. I know a guy that I met at town. His shoes literally didn't have a sole. You know, he was literally walking barefooted, but his, you know, his upper layer of his feet were covered by, you know, but if you would look under the shoes, they were literally, you know, they were sold.
But he had a dream.
He literally had a dream. Today, that guy, he drives a Golf 7. So, as an entrepreneur, you know, or anyone who wants to achieve greatness, you must understand that you will come across adversity, but that you should not be despondent because of adversity. You should relish those challenges and try and find solutions. This is the only way you'll be able to reach greatness. You know, you would never achieve greatness, you know, at a comfort zone. So at the peak of any success, one is met with many challenges. So I definitely think those people who want to start, you know, initiatives, they must start, get guidance, get mentorship, because that is important. You know, even though we live in a quickly changing environment, but seek advices, because it always helps, you know,
to grow as well.
To have someone, you know, get into a space where you are surrounded by other entrepreneurs. You know, I think for me that works. This is why I love to go Kwasiki, you know, the coffee shop, because I get an opportunity to meet with other entrepreneurs and listen, you know, to what they've got to say, and that helps, you know, that strengthens us. You know, we go through a lot of challenges as entrepreneurs, and for any entrepreneur, I think that is definitely important, you know, because when we started, literally no one supported us. It was just me and Lucia only. There was not a single person that supported the dream, you know. And today we have a lot of people that rally behind us and saying, you're doing an amazing work.
But they don't know where
we started, you know. So the journey is always difficult. Sometimes it's going to start out smooth, but you're going to reach a point where it's going to be incredibly challenging, you know. So when that time comes, you know, one needs to be always, you know, have a positive mindset, be realistic, try and find sound solutions, seek advice, you know, from the right people. And I think that always helps. Thank you, Poison.
Thanks. Thank you so much for spending time with us and also sharing us your journey, where you come from. And I'm hoping one who's watching this video is going to be inspired. You've heard it from Wandisile Nqeketho talking about his journey. For more information about Heavy Chef, go to www.heavychef.com. And also don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel.